2 years ago, when I was a freshman in high school, I remember sitting down in my biodesign class with my friends eating lunch just like any other day. One specific day, we were talking about our future endeavors, such as we would like to go to college. I remember saying, oh, I would like to go to a really big, fancy college, such as an Ivy League or something of the sorts, because it's a really big dream of mine. One of my friends started laughing and was like, Sebastian, you will never, ever be able to get into a good college because you are not good enough for one. So even though this could be true, we never know, this was very disheartening and hurtful because, like I said, it was a really big dream of mine. And I understand, undergraduate school and you can get good education anywhere. This was a very big, important dream of mine. But once I sat there and started thinking about it, I didn't really understand what was driving me to reach those lengths. And then after reflecting, I realized that I didn't know what the core value of why it was important for me. For many people, it doesn't really matter what college you go to as long as it meets their standards. But for me, that's just not the case. So as I progressed through high school, the same question came about of why do I care so much? This is seen through various aspects of my academic life, as I put super high self-imposed standards for my academic success, or can never say no when opportunities pass by because, that's who I am. So even when I'm super busy, sometimes I sit and ask myself, Sebastian, you are so busy, you have so many things on your plate, you're doing so many great things, but at what cost? After researching, I realized that validation is a key role in why I've been feeling the way I've been feeling. So when I was researching, there have been two main theories when it comes to why humans feel validation, and that is the attachment theory and the social learning theory. So first is the attachment theory, and the attachment theory is basically when caregivers or parents have the extent to which they show emotional support to their children, building that emotional framework for the rest of their environment. According to John Bowlby, there have been 4 different types of attachment styles. There is first the secure attachment style, which is where caregivers constantly show that emotional support for their children, basically building those secure and healthy relationships over time. The second one is the anxious attachment style, when caregivers inconsistently give that support to those children, leading to needing constant reassurance when growing up in their lives. Then you have the avoidant attachment style. That's when parents or caregivers just do not show any support for their children, and that leads to children suppressing their vulnerability when entering relationships. And then you have the most troubled one, which is the fearful attachment style. And this is when caregivers are seen as emotionally incapable of supporting their kids with the emotional aspect, leading to them overall expressing their emotional instability to their children, leading to having them show signs of fear and reliance on their parents. So for me, I didn't really see this as a portion of validating, because where validation happens is through the anxious attachment style, because people see that they have to perceive their self-worth by constantly needing reassurance from other people. But for me, I didn't think that was the case in my experience with validation. So then I ended up researching about the social learning theory. So at its core, the social learning theory by Albert Bandura basically is when students, or not students, just people in general, end up learning behaviors through others, by modeling others, through observations, reinforcement from others, and cognitive processes. So the first is observational learning. And this is when people model each other based on their respect, or how much people show respect for other people. So for example, when people are showing signs of kindness or showing signs of successfulness, people then learn to internalize these traits that are seen as good and then imitate them into our own personal life. So from my experience, what I used to do is that if a peer has an achievement or something, I would subconsciously hone into those behaviors that they would show and the part of their achievements, and then leading for seeking approval, basically. Then next you have vicarious reinforcement, and this is when you follow like trends or recognition patterns that basically cause people to imitate other people as well. So, for example, if you're following like trends, or your social circle is following trends, or you have a behavior that you don't really enjoy, but if it's socially acceptable in your circle, that leads you to start inflicting those trends or behaviors, even if you don't like following them. Afterwards, you have direct reinforcement, which it's in its name. It causes direct reinforcement to people's emotions. So, for example, let's say there's a piece of artwork that my friend made, and it's gonna become famous and everything. I'm like, congratulations, this is so successful, you're gonna be amazing, like, good job, well done. That basically affirms their efforts that they put, leading them to build their confidence. And this is usually seen in early childhood when usually parents use direct reinforcement on their children. And lastly, you have cognitive processes, where it's actually imitating those experiences that you've seen prior that's shown positive results to yourself. So for example, if somebody was showing signs of affirmation or showing signs of assertiveness, and you get positive results in a certain experience, that leads people to continue and replicate those same experiences because they've seen positive results from the past. So even though that these types all support validation by motivating and growing yourself, it can also lead to behaviors that are astray and negative. So for example, some people may only feel valued because they are in those social circles that support or give a positive reaction to negative or harmful behaviors, basically creating a toxic cycle of validation. So the social learning theory really hit home for me, because when I would see my peers become successful and get all these achievements, I would make sure that I put high expectations for myself, because I wanted to feel that praise too. When I saw like my peers used to get all these achievements and awards, I'd go back, reflect on my own goals, and make sure that I push myself harder, even if it's at the cost of my well-being, just to feel that same success. So basically this motivates a lot of people just like me. Then even though that motivation or validation can be used to stimulate motivation and growing, if you use it to overall evaluate your self-worth based on the extent of other people's approval, that's when it becomes harmful. So finding ways to approach it at an aspect where you reflect on your goals and you base it on what truly matters, that's when you find genuine, true validation. Thank you.